In 1998, the film Halloweentown opened its doors to spook young viewers and unfold the magic and mystery of the Cromwell family. Today, my beautiful wife joins me to share a wonderfully dark and hard-hitting brew and cherish the warm and cozy fall season. This is the Beam Real Podcast. My name is Evan. Katie, it's time to beam real.
Skeletons. Spooky scary, shock your soul. Skeletons. Spooky scary. Spooky scary.
Hello and welcome to a spooky edition of the bonus series Real Brews with my lovely wife, my partner in crime, the girl who drives me crazy.
Excuse me.
Katie Shableski.
Hello, all you people.
Katie, how are we doing tonight?
We're doing great.
So I'm sure you're aware that your brother, Connor, was on a episode of the Real Brews series. Now you're here to share a beer from your favorite brewery and a movie to kick off the spooky, frightful Halloween season.
That's right.
Are you excited?
Oh, I'm pumped.
Okay. Well, just for the listeners, because obviously by now I know you.
I'd hope so.
For the most part. I'm still being surprised every day. But, you know, what do you do for fun, for your hobbies?
What do I do for fun? Well, everyone, I've been in school most of my life, and so I'm just kind of getting into more hobbies, including playing guitar. I do play guitar sometimes. I sing a little bit. I like to be outside.
Now, is there anything you are excited about, maybe for us or maybe specifically in your life?
I think I'm just excited to have more time off.
Okay.
We've been doing a lot of traveling this year. We've been very fortunate. We went to Ireland. We went to Colorado recently. We've had a lot of weekend trips, and so I think kind of keeping up with that, small little trips to make memories, and just having more time.
We went on so many vacations this past summer. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate.
Like between a European trip and some beach vacations, lakeside outing. Yeah, we have been very fortunate.
We've made the most of the summer.
Very fortunate in 2024. Keeping the consistency with the podcast, I wanted to ask you, what actor or actress do I remind you of?
I think the actor you remind me of is Paul Rudd.
Now, that was mentioned by someone else who we're currently in the process of recording, so that's interesting.
A little bit of foreshadowing, yes.
Why Paul Rudd?
Paul Rudd is, I think, he has a comedic sense to him that maybe others in his field don't have. It's effortless. He kind of walks in a room and everyone looks to him. Every movie that, he's been in or he will be in, I feel like those are movies that I look forward to the most. And I think that's a testament to our relationship and, how much I look forward to some of the things that we're involved in together.
I feel like Paul Rudd is a very down-to-earth guy. I hope that I can, have his eternal youth power. I do hope that I have plenty more memories with you. And that would be a second question I have for you. Do you have a favorite memory that you cherish from the beginning of our relationship until now, being married?
I do have one that I will always remember. And it is one of our first dates. It was in the fall, of course. Fall is my favorite season. And we were headed to Peak and Peak for their Fall Fest. And, we were still trying to get to know each other. And I think you were maybe trying to impress me a little bit. But you went to pick me a flower out of the ground. And you ended up taking what looked like an entire plant, roots and all, and kind of ran after me with it. And I promptly ran away from you to make the situation more awkward for us. And I think there was definitely a crowd of people watching.
I don't know if you ran away. It was just the fact that
More
I
of a
picked up
jokingly. Yeah.
what I guess I thought was a flower, and it ended up being a gigantic friggin' plant. Like roots, like a foot long length of roots.
Yeah, well, that sucker was in there.
But I kept pulling.
You kept going.
And
I think there was a little kid nearby too, and I think he also tried to mimic you and what you were doing and went to pull out plants.
get a
out of
little
the
plant
ground.
for his mom.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned that date because when we went to Peak and Peak, which is north to us, it's almost like a ski resort, we went on that ski lift. And in the fall with the foliage and like just the air, it was like early October. Just feeling so free in that moment. It definitely mirrored the way my heart felt for you, like it was soaring through the air. I'll never forget that. Is there a favorite piece of advice that I've given you
Favorite piece
over
of
the years?
advice?
Yeah.
Maybe not piece of advice, but just the way that you live every day. I feel like you are such like a get up and go kind of person. And if I can take anything from what I've learned from you, it would be that, tomorrow's kind of a new day. You're definitely that kind of person that maybe yesterday wasn't the best, but we get up, we go, we get some coffee, we get the day going, and you have a really good outlook on life. And I think that those are the lessons I've learned from you, is just watching you, like behavioral lessons,
I think the most important thing that I've learned from you that I keep in mind frequently is to always keep perspective. Like when I go through about my work day or in public, where I feel like maybe we've lost our way as a community and neighbors, you always help me keep in mind that everyone has their story to tell. Everyone has their own unique day that they're having, whether good or bad. And just to always lead with kindness. And, it's that classic, the lives that you touch on positively can carry on that kinetic energy and make everlasting change. Even if it's just for a moment for someone. So I've always appreciated that lesson from you.
Yeah, I always try to think every person that you encounter is going through some sort of internal struggle that you know nothing about. And I think that's really important because we have our own, and we would hope that people treat us that way too.
So we've established that you are a certifiable fall girl.
Oh, yeah.
You
All
love
girly.
everything October. Ghosts, ghouls, leaves, pumpkins. I just want to say that is something that I share with you. I'm definitely
Thank
a
God.
fall temperate kind of person.
Fall boy.
We started dating in the fall. Mm-hmm. We got married in the fall.
You proposed in the fall.
Right.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes, like we are
Fall.
born out of October. Just now, we celebrated your birthday, which is also in October.
It is.
And yesterday was our 2-year wedding anniversary.
Cue the cheers.
And we had such a great weekend together. And yesterday, we kind of slowed it down, went out for breakfast. And I just really enjoy those days where we're spending time together, not necessarily with a purpose. Like we're very spontaneous and adventurous as a couple, just to do whatever off a whim. And that's always been very important to me.
Yeah, I agree. Those are some of my favorite days too. Just taking a drive, finding a new coffee shop or a thrift store, or, just kind of aimlessly going through life and seeing what we stumble on.
Yeah, that is like perfectly encapsulated us aimlessly wandering through life for better or for worse,
Yeah.
and through sickness and in health.
That's right. Those were in our vows.
Now, partly, we're here to talk about a movie that you picked for the season, which I feel like is so appropriate to kick things off.
Oh, yeah.
But you also picked a beer being that we're in the bonus series of Real Brews at a distillery called Southern Tier Brewing Company.
Tell us all about it.
Southern Tier Brewing Company is based out of New York State. And I feel like they're a brewery where not everything is like consistently good.
They give the people what they want.
You've mentioned before that they typically do a very good job with their seasonal offerings. Mm-hmm. Like we'll talk about a fall offering in a second. But they have good like holiday Christmas season type beers like a sugar cookie brew.
If you've never tried it, you should.
It's fantastic. What
so
a great
good.
Dessert alcoholic beverage.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of keep the same for the remainder of the year. We are here reviewing the Warlock. It is a imperial stout under the style of a pumpkin beer. Now, Southern Tier Brewery, they do have a whole line. The initial beer that they released under the fall is the Pumpkin, which is more of a pumpkin ale. They've since released others, like the Warlock, in this imperial stout. Traditionally, these beers are very malty, very thick, notes of coffee, tobacco. Southern Tier says that it's an imperial stout brewed with pumpkins. Warlock is brewed to enchant your palate on its own and also to counterpoint our imperial ale, Pumpkin. Make your own black magic by carefully pouring this imperial stout into a goblet. Magical, right? Mm-hmm. They say it's dark and mysterious. It's serious about its high potency. Reanimate your senses with Warlock's huge roasted malt character, moderate carbonation, and spicy pumpkin pie aroma. And I want to highlight that. Moderate in carbonation and spicy pumpkin pie aroma. Katie, with your sip here,
Yeah.
can you tell me off the dome what you love about this beer?
Oh, please hold. I have to take a sip. So, I think from the jump, definitely smells of pumpkin.
Okay.
Although, I do not taste pumpkin. And maybe that's where the magic comes in. Maybe some people do and don't. But I think I'm tasting more of like a chocolatey coffee.
Okay. I want to take it from the top. As I'm looking at this bottle, it's a very dark amber colored bottle. And the labeling itself has this purple backdrop with this striking yellow script stating Warlock. Notably, we have the character, the Warlock, to the left. He has this cosmic pumpkin head. It's like a black pumpkin imbued with stars and a very fiery lit face, like a jack-o'-lantern. And he has this like evil Mickey Mouse Fantasia wardrobe thing going on, and I love it. And this green magic swirling around his hands like he's about to cast a spell. Mm-hmm. Most likely on us because his gaze is looking right down at the ABV, which is 8.6%. He's ready to hit you with a sucker punch of a spell.
Oh, yeah.
Now, on the nose, I definitely get a pumpkin pie scent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I mean one that maybe the pumpkin pie was just a little crispy on top. Not perfectly baked, but just a little bit crispy if you like that toastiness. And maybe that speaks to the malt character that comes very heavy on this beer. Do you think it's pretty like thick, like pretty viscous? What you say?
I think the opposite.
You think the opposite?
Who's the stout expert here?
Well, we know that you love stouts.
I do love stouts.
What can you say traditionally are important in a stout versus what this has to offer?
Well, a true stout, if you're going to go for it, it's going to be a meal in itself. It's going to be thick. It's going to be a short glass. And it's going to be a high percentage. That's what I like. The Warlock, high percentage for sure. But it's not as thick. And it's not as heavy, which I appreciate because I can drink it right now at night while we're trying to work on a podcast. I don't know. There's just something about it. I just really like this beer.
Yeah, we know that you love stouts. We know that you love those coffee notes that are very prevalent in these beers. Do you remember when your first stout was?
Yes. Like it was yesterday. No. My first stout was a Guinness from a can.
Mm-hmm.
It had the ball at the bottom of it for the nice even pour.
Okay.
I had my first stout with my dad. He shared a Guinness with me. I remember him telling me that not a lot of people like stout. I thought, that's a challenge. I'm going to like stout. But no, I really did like the Guinness from the jump. And I was fortunate to be able to go to Ireland and experience the Guinness how it should be. Wow, it's good there.
Especially when we had our screen printed
Very cool
picture. Selfie on the foam. The Warlock here. I feel like you get hit with a punch of that heavy malt flavor that has some good caramel, good coffee notes. And there's something bitter behind it that lingers to the rest of the beer. And I think that might be the barley note.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a big fan. The darker stout is never a go-to for me. But I respect that you are a stout girl.
Thank you.
I haven't met a lot of them.
There's not a lot of us.
And that's okay. On Beer Advocate, the Warlock is rated at an 89 out of 100. Now, if you could take the structure to this beer off the label, the aroma, and the taste from front to back, can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
And where you would rate this against the 89 on about 3,000 ratings?
All right, 3001 coming at you. So I think aesthetics-wise, it's a very nice label. I think the colors are there. The message is there. He's looking directly at that 8.6%. He's letting you know what's coming.
Uh-huh.
And he wants to know if you want in. I think the smell is probably like a 7.5. You don't exactly know what you're getting when you smell it because, like I said, it smells like pumpkin, doesn't taste like pumpkin to me. And so I think taste of all the stouts I've had, it's probably an 8. So let's see, what's that add to? What's the math there, Buster? 9, 7.5, and an 8. Probably rounding out at about.
Why not? Let's just say an 8.25 to 8.5.
Okay, let's get specific. 8.25.
Let's just say.
Let's just say.
As you know, as I just said, I'm not a big stout fan. Let me lead with that because the label here is very creative. It's fun.
But.
Halloween's fun. No buts yet.
No buts.
I think the label's about an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay.
I do think it's a little cheesy.
No.
Just a little bit.
Come on.
Just a little bit. In my opinion. Secondly, this aroma is way up there for me. Just a little tad overbaked pumpkin pie, which I like.
Mm-hmm.
The taste is where it drops for me. Initially, I like the punch. It says something. It makes a statement. It makes a terrifying statement. And the aftertaste, again, that barley is just a little bit too forward for me, a little too bitter, and lingers in an almost a rotten way.
A rotten way?
Like rotten as in that's it tanking the score for me. So I'm going to put the taste at about a 6.5. It's not average. I think it is a cut above. So that brings me to about, I don't know, I'm hoping someone does the average at home.
Yeah, someone else. Put it in a comment or something.
Like a 7 to a 7.5.
Or clouded.
And I think that's fair.
It's fair.
I want to read some of the reviews for this beer that I've pulled from Beer Advocate because I think they're important or they're a little odd. Number 1, the first reviewer says, smells taste sort of like an extra spiced piece of frosted carrot cake.
See, I like carrot cake.
And we know that carrot cake is your favorite dessert for whatever reason.
I'm an odd one.
Yeah, you're a little quirky.
I'm a quirk.
You love carrot cake.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. They also say it smells very spicy, while the taste is more subdued and quote-unquote stout-y. Easy to drink. It's sweet.
Yeah.
Better than expected. And that line right there is something that I resonate with.
Mm-hmm.
Better than expected. The second one is just off the wall.
Let's hear it.
This review reads, This is like the offensive lineman on your senior squad who walks into the party with a 24-pack swill on his shoulder and doesn't give a damn.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
Warlock just busts onto the scene like the introduction of Touch of Evil. I'm thinking, what in the heck is that? It's not perfect, parentheses, nothing is. Thank you. But it's all kinds of solid, like a single flusher. Closing it with waboom.
Wow. Who is this guy?
I don't know, but he sounds like a disgruntled boomer. I like him.
We like him.
Where do we find him?
I think
Where-
the people could find him.
Where can we go on a cookout with this guy?
Yeah. Share some warlocks.
So I think that'll wrap up the Warlock here. We're coming to about an 8 out of 10 on this beer, just below the 89 off Beer Advocate. Katie, that's not the only reason why we're here today.
Nah, let's get to the good stuff.
We're also here to talk about a frighteningly fun movie off Disney Channel. A Disney Channel original movie back in the day. This is Halloweentown, a 1998 American fantasy comedy film directed by Dwayne Dunham. It's the first installment in the Halloweentown series. I think there's a total of 4 movies. Starring Debbie Reynolds, Kimberly J. Brown, and it's the 4th Disney Channel original movie. Katie,
Yes.
2 questions. The first, why Halloweentown? Can you give me a short synopsis on this film?
Yes. Okay, so why Halloweentown? Well, it's October, and this is a classic.
Hello.
90s kid classic. Halloweentown, that's my why. Who doesn't know this movie? I don't know. Everyone should know this movie.
Every millennial.
Every
everywhere.
millennial everywhere knows this movie, knows about the talisman, knows about, every piece of this movie that they loved growing up. And you want a synopsis, huh?
For those who haven't seen Halloweentown, can you give them a very short overview of the plot? And go.
Halloweentown is about these 3 siblings who are trying to figure out if there's more to them than maybe they believe. And the person that kind of comes back into their lives to help them figure that out is their grandma, Aggie. And so they enter into this world that they've never seen before and only read about to find a lot of different magical things that are happening, some good, some
Creatures.
bad, and they have to defy the odds and kind of band together to defeat an evil warlock.
That was incredible.
Thank you.
I don't want to put anyone else to shame, but that, not just because you're my wife, that might be in the running for the best synopsis thus far.
Woo!
I might make some of the previous guests mad, but you know what?
Probably.
That's okay because I'm trying to inspire subsequent guests to bring their A game.
Okay.
Now, Katie, this story centers around the fictional location, Halloweentown. It's in another dimension, separate from the mortal world, where Marnie and her 2 siblings, Sophie, her sister, Dylan, her brother, resided. And of course, they live with their mom. Their father is deceased. We don't get a reason why in the first film, I don't believe. But they're visited on a Halloween night by their grandmother, who, and you can tell something's different about her.
There's
It looks
a sense
like
of urgency.
Yeah, like this is a very defining moment for Marnie and in her young life. And she's dressed in what appears to be a witch's Halloween costume, but we soon find that nothing is fake about it. And creatively, the 3 decide to follow Aggie as she leaves their home after their mother has sent Aggie back to what we know as home. And we find that she is a witch between the conversations between their mother and their grandmother.
She's not just a witch, Evan. She's a Cromwell.
She's a Cromwell witch. We find that mother was also a Cromwell with her own powers, but she gave them up to be with their father in the mortal world.
She didn't give them up. She's hidden them.
Well, what I mean, like, give that life up.
I see what
Give
you're
that
saying.
part of her up.
I just want the people to know.
It's almost like their mother is scared for them. She doesn't want them to fall in the same danger or challenges that the world of Halloweentown and all its magical creatures presents. Like any mischievous group of kids, they sneak away in the middle of Halloween night to follow their grandmother home on this magical school bus shuttle that takes them to that magical place. And that's where we really kick things off. The movie altogether, being on a budget of about $4 million when it was projected to be on a budget of 20-some million, definitely cuts corners in its props, in its CGI. Things look a little clunky these days, but I think that really is an appeal for me to the movie. It brings that level of nostalgia that I don't find really completely fabricated, have whole set pieces that are computer generated. I like that charm. What I want to ask you is, if there was, let's say, if you were dropped into Halloweentown today or during the holiday season, what would you love to do there based on what you saw in the movie?
Well, first I'd run up to that gigantic pumpkin, size
Okay.
it up. I want to see how big it really
The
is.
centerpiece of the town?
Yeah.
The big jack-o'-lantern?
Gotta see the Halloweentown pumpkin, and then, of course, we have to visit the broom shop.
How cheesy was that broom shop?
What are you talking
They
about?
made it like this auto dealership type thing, and there's this really corny scene where the auto dealership salesman,
The broom
I should say the broom salesman, thank you, is just absolutely hamming up his role.
Oh, yeah.
He's like a cross between Elvis
And a dog.
and a dog, yeah. He's like selling these, this really speaks to probably the budget of the movie, these like Home Depot department store brooms.
Yeah.
Plastic brooms that are made to look like sports cars.
Basic.
They look awful.
No.
No, they look awful.
No.
Be honest with the listeners.
Listen. The listeners, did they know Halloweentown? And you didn't watch this movie growing up, did you?
I did not watch this movie.
Well,
growing
then,
up.
you know what? You can't speak to it.
It doesn't
Because, you can speak to it. But the people that know, they know. Those were the coolest things. When you were growing up and you saw Marnie walk up to that, you were like, oh my God, look at that one. Look at that one. Which one's she going to pick? And I just picked that yellow one. And I was like, oh, that's my favorite color.
That was it for you, huh?
That was it.
You wanted to be
was
soaring
over.
in the air.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They were the coolest things.
Yeah.
Back then, you didn't even realize that they were Home Depot. What else would you do in Halloweentown?
Halloweentown, I feel like I would just love to be in a place that is a fall festival 24/7. Give me apple picking, apple cider, carving pumpkins, all day. Maybe not for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's excessive, but maybe for a
You'd
season.
be down, huh?
Oh, not for my life, but for a good while.
Let's say for like a year. Let's start with a year. Was there an actor or actress in this movie that, it doesn't even have to be the main trio of the siblings, but even a creature that you most identify with?
Honestly, I think I'm going to go with Dylan, because Dylan kind of has to get over his safety net that he's created for himself
Yeah.
and kind of go outside of his comfort zone in a few scenes, and you see him be kind of courageous in some moments, like when they need to go shopping and they need hair of a werewolf and they're trying to think on the fly in that the barber shop, and Marnie's distracting the one hairstylist werewolf, and Dylan grabs the clippers and he acts very courageously and he gets what they need in the moment, and he's like, wow, I did that. And I feel like I relate to that because, growing up, I was a middle child, the only girl. I felt like I was very much a peacekeeper. I think a lot of my friends have helped me get out of my comfort zone, especially in college. And so I think, fixing, I still fix here and there. But
Yeah.
I think Dylan is someone I relate to. Would you pick one?
I would certainly pick one. I think I most relate to Luke because I've always wanted to be handsome, and then I come back to reality. Shut up. No, in the movie, there's a character named Luke, who the big bad in the film, let's say, is the warlock, Calabar. and he tries to bring Halloweentown back into the mortal world. We don't get a whole lot of backstory or lore.
More of like they want to control.
Yeah, they want to meld the two together so he can be in total control of their destiny. So Luke, the town punk, he makes a bargain with Calabar. In good faith, I think, initially. He wants to be more handsome. We find out at the end of the film when Calabar is defeated that spell goes along away with Calabar. And Luke becomes he's like more of a troll type creature. And he thought that Calabar would assume power, but I don't think he realized what Calabar was truly capable of. Truthfully, I can identify with Luke because we all make those rash decisions when we want something and choosing the easy way out. We have to deal with those consequences and we learn lessons. It's an important part of growing up. Something that I've thought about when you've brought this movie to the table with Halloweentown is that we have these movies when we were growing up that were these kids network television movies, especially like one like Halloweentown that was centered around one of the holiday seasons. I want to get your opinion on why that might be for you, of why we keep returning to this movie.
The reason I keep coming back to this movie is the family dynamic. I think a lot of people can relate to Marnie and her mom and, the Aggie, the grandma dynamic of mom's trying to protect the daughter and grandma's trying to help her get away with things in a sense, or, also try to help her grow. And I think there's a lot of love in that kind of triangle there, but ultimately they're both after the same goal, which is growth and safety of Marnie. But I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of maybe fighting and, offhanded comments that she throws at her mom. And I think growing up as a teenager, Marnie's 13 in this movie, that's a hard time, teenage years. And by the end, they go through all these struggles, but they know that at the end of the day, the family is the most important thing. And you see at the end how they kind of stand together and show each other that love.
I can imagine this was an important movie for you growing up. I don't think at that time, there were a lot of girl leads in kids' shows. It really gave us one where this girl was the powerful witch. It wasn't Harry Potter. I don't know, maybe you imprinted that a little bit on yourself, being, you say, you weren't the entertainer in the family. You weren't the goofy one. A little quirky. You were holding things together.
Yeah.
Keeping the balance. Something that I really cherish in you. I feel like this gave you the opportunity to explore that freedom and that power that you knew you always had in yourself. Would you agree with that? Or am I just spitballing way out beyond the fences?
No, I think that's an interesting perspective. And yeah, I definitely felt like Marnie was someone that a lot of girls looked up to watching this movie, because she could be the caretaker,
right?
But she could also, have fun with it and go out of her comfort zone and do what she wanted, which was empowering, for sure.
I love that. I think that's a good note to end on while we take a break. We're going to come back after the break and we're going to play the Real Brews game, Who Picked the Six Pack, which I'll explain. And we'll also talk about some of the really empowering messages in this film before we close this out and review the film and talk about its legacy. So, are you ready? Do you feel scared? Are you frightened?
Never.
You should be.
Yeah, we'll see.
And we are back to continue a very spooky time in the Bean Reel podcast as we are diving into the charming but frightful movie Halloweentown. Now, Katie, being that this is a technically scary movie,
Technically.
I must say that there are some cheesy parts to this movie. There's one scene in particular that I do feel is a little frightening, but then gets thorned in the side by a very cheesy moment. Do you have an idea of what that scene might be?
Does it have to do with Calabar?
It does have to do with Calabar, and it's in the theater.
Okay.
When Marnie and the crew go to locate Calabar to stop him in his tirade, they're walking down the aisle of the theater, and it's very dark, and Calabar has these members of the Halloweentown community possessed. They almost look deceased. They're sitting upright in the stadium seats, stone cold, with these cobwebs all over them, and it's very jarring. I can only imagine as a kid, as you're watching these three in this procession down the aisle, looking at all of the quote-unquote deceased community members. And you're thinking, is there a giant spider amok in the theater? What's going on? And then we see this swirling storm on the theater screen, and this tornado enter through that storm, through the screen, and Calabar sort of is microscopic on the screen, and then slowly but surely appears. And you're like, okay, this is ruining it.
Listen, when I was younger, that was scary.
That's what I want to hear. As you were a kid, how did Calabar appear to you?
He appeared like a demon.
A demon.
Yeah. Scary. I definitely think maybe in my adult years now, looking at it, I can see how it could be a little cheesy and maybe not make a whole lot of sense. But yeah, when I was younger, that was, I used to hide from that scene.
I could see how it would be frightening because he is in this black, almost Dementor type robe from Harry Potter, and he has these long, spindly fingers that are razor
That's
sharp.
what really got me. The fingers.
The fingers?
Yeah, creepy.
And he has this almost scarecrow type mask that's almost looks like it's locked into his head like
It's
a
got
noose.
yellow eyes.
And these beady yellow reptile-like eyes. Yeah. I guess I could see how he would be so terrifying to children, but it's also funny because the storm raging behind him on the theater screen is blowing at such an apparent velocity. I don't know if they had like 20 fans
They must have.
on Calabar at the time, like blowing behind him, but like his robes are like coming up into his face
Every which way, yeah.
every which way, and he's like trying to bat them away as he's going on his rant, his very like evil, like
I wonder how many cuts that took.
too many, because he is fighting for his life up there against the fans that they put him in front of. Anyway, I do think that is a very standout, frightening scene in this movie, Halloweentown. Now, speaking of frightening things, it's your time, Katie, to play a game that I like to call Who Picked the Six Pack? That's right. For the Real Brews series, we do a game called Who Picked the Six Pack, where traditionally I list 6 actors or actresses. 4 are true cast members of the film that we're talking about, and 2 are spoiled beers in this 6-pack, where they're an actor or an actress that doesn't appear in the film.
Okay.
For this episode, being that we're in the Halloween season, I modified it a little bit. They're not actors or actresses necessarily, but they're creatures that appear in the series, not just the first film, Halloweentown.
That's unfair.
Now, I know you've seen a lot of the movies, so I'm hoping that you're good at some recall here. Katie,
Evan,
are you ready to be shaking in your boots?
let's have it.
Okay. So, the 6 monsters/creatures that I have picked are in this order. Now, remember, in the game, you do get 1 lifeline to use. And in this case, I typically give the filmography of an actor or actress so that you have a better idea and understanding of who they might be. But in this one, I'm simply going to take away one of the creatures that I know is not in the series Halloweentown. So you only have one to choose.
Okay.
So I've made it a little easier, but I do think it's hard being that it's from the whole series.
Okay, fair.
Number 1,
Mm-hmm.
we have a devil. Number 2, we have a warlock. Number 3, we have a forest giant. Number 4, a scarecrow. Number 5, a genie. And lastly, 6, a lake monster. Katie, which that you know is the spoiled member of the six-pack?
People listening, I wish you could help me, but we know that there's a warlock, so that's safe. He's in the six-pack. I do recall...
But are you sure about that?
A warlock?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Calabar, my friend. Now, I'm pretty sure in Calabar's Revenge,
Yeah.
he either plays or his dad or someone is a devil creature.
Okay.
And so I guess I would need some clarity. Is it a true devil or...
A true classical devil.
Okay.
Pitchfork and all.
Pitchfork and all. I think... Alright. Warlock? Yeah. The lake monster? You know what? Let me just use my lifeline.
You're going to use your lifeline?
Let's just use it.
Right now?
Let's see where we end.
Katie, again, there's 2 spoiled members of this group, and the one we can get rid of is the scarecrow.
Okay. I think...
So now we're down to devil, warlock, forest giant, genie, lake monster.
I think that there is a lake monster.
Okay.
I think that there is a devil.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna throw out the genie.
Katie, I regret to inform you that you have dug yourself an early grave. You will not match your brother in his win on the first Real Brews series, and you shall start out 0-1.
You know what? That's okay.
And now I'm 1-1.
You're welcome.
I have
babe.
risen.
Happy anniversary.
I have risen like a zombie
So tell me about
from
it.
my early grave.
Which one was the genie in?
The genie, let's see where the genie's at. I did do some late research. I know the devil is the one that you were really looking for. The true devil in the classical fashion does not appear in
See,
Halloweentown,
That got me.
nor does a scarecrow. The genie is one of Marnie's friends. I believe her at called Anissa
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I
in Witch
forgot she was a
University.
genie.
I forget which Halloweentown that is. I think it's called Halloweentown University.
Halloweentown High.
Maybe it is Halloweentown High. Either way.
So the devil was a costume. It wasn't a true devil that I'm
Right.
thinking of.
Right.
You know what? I think I should get half credit.
Why is that?
Because I recalled a pretty damn good portion of that for not seeing it in like 10 years.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You did a very commendable job. I appreciate you. And I appreciate the effort.
Thanks.
But you're still going to have a 1 in the lost
My
column.
God. Help me out, people.
I think now we can really dive into the important messages in this film. The first one I'd like to talk about is the theme of individuality. Like unabashedly embracing who you are, maybe despite what others think about you. Marnie's friends and family acknowledge that her behaviors are a little atypical. Like in the beginning of the film, her friends said that she draws ghouls, ghost creatures in her notebook, and how that's a little odd. But I remember her grandma, Aggie Cromwell, saying, "Being normal is vastly overrated."
I love that.
It's an important message to stay true to yourself, thinking not of what others think and more about what makes you stand out, whether it be just for you or for other members in your community and family. Now, at times it can be hard to remain true to ourselves. What has made you feel insecure in the past? And what made you remember who you really are for the better?
I think that every day we face challenges that really could kind of shape you into someone you're not. And I think, we were both nurses. We've gone through COVID and the aftermath of that pandemic. And although it's quote unquote over, there are lasting effects on how people treat each other. And I think that can really affect how we view ourselves every day. And I think the people that I have in my life that hold me true to who I know I'm supposed to be and who I am are what helped me get out of that spiral.
Yeah.
And so, I think there's a lot of stressors that can change you and make you react in a certain way, but staying true to yourself and being around people that bring out that spark in you that maybe others don't is what grounds me.
I love that. It's good to have a healthy support system. I think them helping you is one thing, but do you also feel like you have maybe a standout trait that helps others, that makes you an individual?
I think I'm a good listener. People always joked with me growing up that I was everyone's counselor.
Okay.
And I never thought of that as a bad thing because it just meant that I was a good listener. And, people come to me and value like my opinion on things. So I think you talked about perspective. I often contemplate perspective all the time and try to see both sides of the coin before making a decision or giving advice. So I think that's probably a standout trait. Although I do not like to talk highly of myself, I struggle with that. But I think that's probably one. Yeah.
I think a lot of people do. I think your standout trait is, again, just having that altruistic approach where there's good in a lot of people that you touch and that you see, even if that's cloaked. And that's important because you build relationships based in truth and a certain level of genuineness that it's sometimes hard to come by when you just meet somebody. But you bring that right away.
Thank you.
I appreciate that about you.
What about you, sir?
A standout trait for me?
Yeah. This
Well,
is my interview.
You mean beyond being naturally handsome?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm not. Help, I'm not.
Please.
The damsel,
No,
please.
Please stop
Let
staring.
me fish for compliments. No, I think a standout trait that I have is being very conscious for other people. Like, I think I feel in my heart like I am always looking at perspectives.
Just like me, huh?
Just like you, I'm always looking at different perspectives and trying to find a gray area where everyone has a valid argument or everyone has a valid concern or a feeling, and trying to help address that. So, we're talking about a Halloween movie, obviously. Easy to be an individual with these kind of things. It's a certain holiday where individuality is celebrated. Thinking back to growing up, did you have a favorite Halloween costume?
Well, my mom would tell you that I was every single Disney princess that you ever could be. But I think the one that stands out the most to me, and the one I look back on when I see pictures, is Minnie Mouse, which you have seen those pictures. If I do say so myself, I was
What a cutie.
pretty adorable. Don't know what happened. No. I think Minnie Mouse for
I never
sure.
left.
What?
I never left. The cuteness.
I think Minnie Mouse, or there's a pretty young picture of me as Tinkerbell. I think those would probably be my favorites. Although, if I had to pick one in college years, a group of my friends and I went as the Average Joes.
Oh, cool.
Dodgeball.
Yeah.
That was a fun year.
That is fun.
And you?
Wow, we don't have to talk about mine.
Oh, let's hear it.
No,
Please.
We can hear from my next segment. Well, okay, fine. If I
Twist
must.
my arm.
My favorite costume is one I remember, one of the first ones that I really had my own hand in, you know, because your parents just naturally pick you out the store costume.
Yeah, like a
for
pea
the most
pod.
part.
Like you have to
For
be a
the-
pea pod.
growing
at
up
least
for the
once.
most part.
You have to be a lion, probably.
Yeah. I mean, that's traditionally what I would see, people buying the store costumes.
Yeah.
So putting together my own costume for my own supplies or things that I found, I was a nerd one year and I took it to the extreme, like Urkel levels of nerddom.
Yeah, pants to the nose.
I put suspenders on my khaki shorts and they were so hiked up I could probably hit the highest note known to mankind. Socks all the way up to the hips.
Wow.
I think the only thing I bought was a pocket protector. Do you see anyone now having a pocket protector?
No.
Never.
Never.
If they brought back the fanny packs, someone please bring back the pocket protectors.
It deserves its light.
It needs a comeback.
It needs a spotlight.
Also, I think Halloween is an event of individuality because we're also talking about the historical debates on, like, you know, like you and your siblings or your family when you brought home the big stash of the fruits of your labor of knocking on all those doors. The big spread, and there's debates over which Halloween candy holds supremacy over the other. Which ones are you going to trade for?
Right.
Which candies do you want and try to weasel some extra pieces out of someone who doesn't know its value?
Yeah. It was like initial gambling for us.
Honestly, yeah. Like
It was supervised.
it was like it was like immature currency.
Yeah.
Which candy did you prefer? Were you like a chocolate or more of a fruit leaning person?
Chocolate.
Chocolate all day.
We're drinking a stout, babe. If I had to pick one, it would be a Twix.
Okay.
Right, left, either one.
Doesn't
I'll take them
matter.
all. I think the funniest part about trading candy was, you know, the parents, they have to do the safety check. We all know what that means. They're stealing my candy for themselves. There's no safety check.
It's no secret.
No.
It's no industry secret.
Everyone bought that shit at Costco. We know it's safe. They just wanted the candy for themselves.
You can keep your Twix. It's not important.
What
to
do
me.
you like?
I'm trading up for all the Butterfinger you can muster.
Gross.
Well, you can keep those fingers off
We're-
my Butterfingers.
I know that's right.
I love them.
I'll be chucking them at you. You can have them all.
Listen, it is the king of peanut butter candy. Far better than a Reese's cup.
Let me ask you this. I've never seen you eat a Butterfinger on a normal day. Only Halloween. What about a 100-gram bar?
I love
Where does that
100. I
stand?
love 100-gram bars, but they're usually my day to day. But the Butterfinger just holds that
Nostalgia.
Halloween crown for me,
Okay.
and it's not going to be
It brings you
replaced
back.
anytime soon. Now, another important message in this film I wanted to talk about is something we touched on momentarily with the family dynamic, but these supportive relationships. Now, we know that Marnie's grandmother arrives to Marnie's mortal home to support her granddaughter in her rocky transition to adolescence, early adulthood. I love how this movie takes, let's say, Marnie and her siblings who are, you know, admittedly different from one another, but share the same blood. The film constantly focuses its attention on these three. I think the trio makes attempts at synergizing their personalities to overcome these obstacles in the film. Specifically, I love how near the end of the film, Marnie gets creative as she attempts to concoct the witch's brew that her grandmother once showed the trio to imbue Merlin's talisman that is the primary weapon against Calabar with the power to defeat him. It shows Dylan in this very same scene challenging her, debating on the incantation to activate its power, almost propelling the conversation forward. And it also shows her whimsical sister, Sophie, who states that she had created a song to remember the incantation to help the group find out how to get Merlin's talisman powered. It accurately portrays a picture of not just a few siblings under the heat of a challenge, but also a highly functioning team who have melded under one singular purpose. When thinking about this supportive structure and these relationship dynamics, Katie, is there a certain role or trait that you really admire in a person, in a team that you're in?
I think that something that I admire would be the people that challenge the situation.
Okay.
Because if done right, they kind of help you get to that goal more efficiently.
Yeah.
I think, there's someone can challenge you and it could be a negative thing, but it could also be a empowering thing, And so I think that's an interesting characteristic of a team member.
Yeah.
But I also think that the quiet people like Sophie, they know what's happening behind the scenes. They're the ones that kind of see all the sides and put it together the quickest. Maybe they're just not the people that speak up first. And I think that's a cool scene that you referenced, is Sophie whispering to herself the songs she created, because she is that person. She's the creative one that maybe just doesn't speak up, because Marnie is the go-getter of the family. She's the big sister. And so I think it's really cool how all of their characteristics kind of mend together and they're able to light the talisman.
I think that these supportive relationships in the film are so important and have lasted with us because it shows a functioning family who maybe has had a past trauma in their life. They've lost a very important member of their family, but they've still managed to craft the story for themselves and carry on and understand that there's remembering, but there's also moving forward and growing, just like Marnie does. Marnie learns lessons growing up as she becomes a witch that make her understand this world is so much bigger than the one that she's from, and she has all these people along the way that can lift her spirits.
I think the mom in this movie, you talked in the beginning about how she's trying to kind of shelter and keep this Halloweentown horrors and the scary moments that maybe she witnessed or was a part of growing up in Halloweentown as a witch. She's trying to keep that from her family to protect them. But I think it's interesting because those same horrors can still occur in the human world, in the mortal world. And so what initially was meant to be something of protection maybe would have happened anyway to Marnie.
There's no protecting everyone at any time.
That's a hard pill to swallow, though.
And if you let them fly, per se, they have to make those mistakes. And they have to go through certain trials. But you're right. I do think there has to be certain barriers set up to make it not such a hard pill to swallow, that you know that you've done your best. And I think that's what Marnie's mother's trying to do. Katie, I'd like to close there about our film Halloweentown. I feel like we've touched upon a lot of charming and heartwarming things when talking about this Halloween movie, where it's really not such a spooky movie as it is a movie about love, family, sisterhood, being true to yourself. At its core, growing up.
That's right.
And I really enjoyed talking about Halloweentown, a movie that I didn't see growing up, but watching it now in adulthood, I feel like the child in me can relate back to. I mean, gosh, we talked about everything from creatures to monsters to the bump in the night and some powerful messages that we can carry. There's nothing mundane about this film, and I think I'm ready to give my verdict.
What are you going to give it?
I want to ask you first, since you are the guest, what does this movie mean to you, as simply as you can put it, and where are you coming out between 1 and a 10?
Okay. This movie I think means to me and a lot of millennial, 90s kids would be, these kind of messages, this kind of film can stand the test of time. And I think that's really important because, we were there for it when it first got big. And to be able to look back and, maybe someday show our kids that this was like a movie that really meant a lot to us is, it gives you a really good feeling. Seeing this in our adulthood, being able to appreciate the messages a little bit more makes it even more special. And so, if I had to rate this movie, if I'm rating it just as a Halloween movie, it's gotta be a 10. It's the original, and I feel like it's highly quotable.
I'm thinking of quotes when they're all dressed for Halloween in the beginning of the film. Mm-hmm. And Dylan is in his big Viking
whatever
costume, whatever it is. And he has this gigantic ass behind him. Like on the costume, he has this big old bubble butt.
Who thought of that?
And they don't address it at all,
No.
which is completely fine.
Right.
I love that for what it is.
And
he
what's he
says,
say?
I feel like a
big pimple.
I feel like a big pimple.
I look like a big pimple.
Yeah, it's charming. I think, of course, on its budget and the time that it was released in the late 90s, it is a little cheesy. Some things are a little bit aging poorly. I don't think you can knock the central messages for kids in this filming. Like you said, it's something that you can raise your kids on and share that commonality in the lessons you're learning growing up from when you were a child and now with your own kids. It's a legacy film in that way. It's something that was important to you when you're a kid that you want to share with your family. In that way, like ceremoniously portraying the Halloween season, which I love, I have to give it a 7.5 to 8 out of 10.
It's a low ball.
But on a film itself, I'm going to be honest, there were stretches where I felt like, ooh, this is dragging on, where I could have very well given this movie a 5.
Oh my God.
I know, but listen, I won't be a cynic. I can't be a cynic. I'm not going to be dressed as a cynic for Halloween. This year, if this movie came to my door, I would have handed it an 8.
An 8?
This year, if this movie came to my door,
Wow.
it's a trick or treat, it's getting an 8. It's not going to be taking 5.
There was some good ideas, like Bones, the cab driver. That was robotic. Did you know that?
Or puppeteered.
Yeah. I like to think of him as the fun uncle of the film.
I don't think we can end this episode without talking about Bones in the cab riding the family around.
Yeah.
And how you can tell a lot of the budget of the film went to him and the maybe puppeteered animatronic skeleton taxi driver of Halloweentown. I did appreciate him and his one-liner dad jokes after the other.
He was always there for them until he wasn't.
So Katie, I want to thank you for being on the second episode of the Real Brews series for our special Halloween edition. I hope you've been spooked. I hope you've been haunted, and I pray that you are disturbed.
I think I'm going to have disturbing dreams after this warlock.
Yeah, this warlock might take us down a nightmare lane, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Katie, again, I want to thank you, and I want you to know that I truly see you as the balance in my life. I could be teetering from time to time, and it's fitting because in my starry skies, you're like Libra, bringing that balance. I want you to know that it's that equilibrium that helps remind me I'm not too far. I can come back to center, and I would never ask you for anything more than that.
Thank you, baby. Love you too.
So being reelers out there, from my haunted house to yours, I wish you a very scary and spooky Halloween.